That's just how it goes now. That's just how we roll now. That's just how it goes now. That's just how we roll now.
I want to start this next conversation by saying I openly admit I'm a little bit biased in this situation, because the situation we're going to talk about is someone that is, a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, someone who I've known for almost 2 years now in the community, someone that I got to know, quite some time ago. And we've become really good friends, and we've always been there for each other. If he ever needed me, maybe just to sit down and have a conversation or advice on something or whatever, I've always been there to give him advice or to be there as someone he could talk to. And he's been there for me on multiple occasions as well. Whenever I needed somebody to talk to, I could think of a situation that I went through within the past month where I needed a friend to talk to, and he was there for me in the middle of the fucking night, and I appreciate that. And I'm not afraid to say that I love this dude, like a brotherly type of love, and I would always go to bat for him no matter what, right? But having said that, something happened early this morning, in the early morning hours, that I think is kind of messed up. And it was something that was really messed up in regards to my friend. And the friend that we're talking about right now is Bowblax. Bowblax, like I said, we've known each other for a while. He's always been a really good dude. A little bit too edgy for his own good sometimes, and we'll get into that in a second here. But somebody tried to use something he did when he was a teenager against him today in an attempt to smear his reputation, or an attempt to try to cancel him, if you will. I know that, canceling is going around a lot right now, and everybody's trying to cancel people. But H3 Productions, Ethan Klein, tried to basically cancel Bowblax today over something he did that was a little too edgy for his own good back when he was a teenager. Now, if you don't know what I'm referring to, there was a song that Bowblax made when he was a teenager. It was meant to be a song that was just shared amongst friends in private. He made this song, he uploaded it to YouTube unlisted, and he shared it with his friends as a joke in private. And somehow this joke leaked onto the internet almost a year ago. This happened. This song was called Black Lives Matter, and like I said, it was meant to be a joke amongst friends, something he did 4 years ago when he was just a teenager. And let me say something. A lot of us were really edgy fucking teenagers when we were teenagers. I can tell you right now that if people knew, like if social media was a thing and I was stupid enough to post things on social media when I was a kid, granted we had MySpace, but I never posted anything inappropriate on MySpace or anything like that that could potentially get me canceled nowadays. But if I had been stupid enough to do those things, and people got access to that stuff, let me tell you, I'd be canceled real quick. I'd have Sky Jackson up my ass trying to, get me doxxed and shit like that. Like, I said some really stupid things when I was a teenager. But we all have. Like, teenagers, like, that's just kind of what they do. They like edgy memes and jokes and shit like that, and they say and do a lot of stupid shit. Now, what I will say about, this Black Lives Matter song is, should Bowblax be joking about stuff like that? No. I don't think that that's appropriate. I can see the humor in it, but at the same time, no, it's not okay. It's not okay to make those kind of jokes. But again, he was an edgy teenager when this shit happened, right? And there's a couple things that he said in more recent times that I don't agree with either. But you know what? Bowblax is his own man. If he wants to joke around and tell edgy jokes and stuff like that, he's totally free to do that. I definitely wouldn't say some of the shit that he says, but you know what? He's his own man, and I know that he's not a bad dude. He may joke about some really edgy topics, but that doesn't make him a bad guy. And it certainly doesn't make him racist, as someone tried to spin it off, about. But this is something that this song came out, right? And, it kind of spread somehow. Somehow somebody got a link to the unlisted video and started sharing it all over the place, right? And so, he came out already, back when this originally came out, like 8 months or so ago, or a year ago, however long it was, and he already apologized for this. This was something that he already apologized to the community for, right? And it should have been done with at that point. He just explained, like, hey, I was a teenager when this happened, and, I'm sorry that it happened. I shouldn't have done that, right? And that should have been the end of it, right? But unfortunately it wasn't, because recently a lot of people have dug this old video up to try to use it against him, to try and destroy his reputation in the community, and to try and get him canceled and deplatformed. In fact, very recently the clip started circulating again. And on the 27th of June, He put up this Twitter thread. When I was a teenager, I made a private parody song for my friends where I play the role of a black person who is too invested in Black Lives Matter to the point of wanting to kill any other race and calling them non-black N-words. Recently, the song got leaked. I'm sorry I did that. Obviously, I wouldn't make something like that today. Back then, I was ignorant to the struggles of black people, and I thought the whole movement was over-exaggerated. Since then, I've been to America multiple times and learned more about it. You have to understand that Bowblax is from Canada. He's not an American. So he says he's been to America multiple times, and he better understands the struggles of, black Americans. He links to the video so you guys can see what he's referring to. Obviously, we can't play the video here. I would get banned really quickly on Twitch, and YouTube probably wouldn't be too happy about it either. I used to be edgy for fun, and I still am to a certain extent, but I was never and never will be racist. I might still make jokes too close to the edge to this day, but I'm trying to balance my hyperbolic humor with respect of all people. Sometimes I miss the mark, but I'm learning. And I have to tell you, as somebody who is, Latino, I grew up in a Mexican family. I can say that, of all the interactions I've had with Bowblax, not once have I ever got, this indication that he was racist or anything like that, right? It's never happened. I've never felt like Bowblax has any hatred for me as a Latino individual, and I've never seen him share any bit of even an inkling of hatred towards black people or anyone else. I've never seen that. Yes, the guy's edgy. He tells some jokes he probably shouldn't. He's definitely too edgy for his own good. But I don't think Bowblax ever has been or ever will be racist, right? But like I said, this came out initially about a year ago, back in October of 2019, so almost a year ago. He already apologized for it. He already owned up to it. A lot of people had a laugh at his expense because of it. But a lot of people accepted that this was just a teenager making a joke. This was not someone who is racist trying to, spread hatred or propaganda of any, of that kind or anything like that. So everybody understood what it was. He apologized, and the majority of the community moved on. But like I said, a lot of people are digging this up again to try and use it against him. One of those people happens to be H3H3. Now, we all know H3H3 and Keemstar had this feud recently. They kind of went back and forth for a while. It got to the point where Keem just kind of had enough of it, and he blocked Ethan. So they don't have any interaction on Twitter anymore. Occasionally, Keem will post a meme related to Ethan on Twitter. But for the most part, Keemstar's moved on. But Ethan just won't drop it. He just won't let it fucking go. He keeps trying to cancel Keemstar. It wasn't enough that he got him kicked from G Fuel. It wasn't enough that he got his channel demonetized for a couple of weeks, right? He has to go further. He's going for full-on deplatforming, and regularly he is attacking Keemstar, digging up old information about Keemstar to try and get him deplatformed, or to try and hurt his brand, right? And it's just really shitty. It's Ethan, what happened to you? Ethan used to be anti-cancel culture. He was a creator that I looked up to in many ways. I was a massive H3H3 fan. I loved H3 so much. A lot of you guys may remember in the early days when I started streaming, when I used to get rated on stream or get a big donation, I would play the Vape Nation song, and I'd pull out my vape, and we'd do Vape Nation and stuff as a celebratory thing when I used to get rated and stuff. I was a big fan of H3H3. I loved H3H3's content, and I always loved how he was a massive supporter of the YouTube community at large. He tried to protect he was like a hero to the YouTube community, always looking out for us, always trying to protect us, always looking out for the rest of us. But now it seems like his thing is he's pro deplatforming. And it started with Keemstar. But now he's starting to go over anyone who calls him out, even in the slightest, or anyone who tries to defend Keemstar against his attacks. And one of these people happens to be Bowblax. And Bowblax got into a heated debate with Ethan recently, right? So we have, I guess this is where the exchange started. We have Bowblax. I've seen the original tweet. He was responding to something that Ethan said. If I remember correctly, it was a tweet, like a joke tweet about Jersey Mike's. where they had it was a fake post where they were talking about making a sandwich to end racism, calling it the BLM instead of the BLT. It's the BLM, the bacon, lettuce, and mayo, or something stupid like that. But it was a joke, right? And so Ethan says, "Looks like we've ended racism," or something like that. And Bowblax responded to that tweet with, "Yes, like heck yeah, we've ended racism with a fucking sandwich." So this person, Hitchmo, like I said, a lot of people are trying to use this song against Bowblax to try and paint him as a racist. And I have no reason in my heart of hearts to believe that Bowblax is actually racist. I just think he was an edgy teenager when he made that song. And I think that he's too edgy for his own good, even to this day. But he responded with yes, and this guy posted, "Is this you?" With a link to the song. Ethan responds to that with, "I've never heard this before. If your goal is holding everyone else accountable, shouldn't you upload this to your channel and hold yourself to the same standard? What year was it made?" So we already see the gears turning in H3H3's head to try and use this against Bowblax, right? Of course, that's exactly what happens. In these now deleted tweets, we could see Ethan Klein, the former savior of the YouTube community, the guy that was like a beacon of inspiration for so many commentators today, the guy who was anti-cancel culture back in the day, suddenly he's 100% in favor of trying to cancel people. And his target this morning was Bowblax. "I thought racism was over, but then I found this song by Bowblax." He links to the Black Lives Matter song. "Jersey Mike's is going to need to rename another sandwich." He also goes on to state that, "Oh no, Bowblax, no." And he shows an old tweet from Bowblax. Like I said, this guy was a little too edgy for his own good. But he shows an old tweet from Bowblax where he says, "Why is everyone at the airport at 2 a.m. black or Mexican? LOL, I'm watching my bags like a hawk." Now, was it appropriate for him to say that? Of course not. Of course it wasn't appropriate, right? But it's an old tweet. Probably happened when he was a teenager again, an edgy meme lord. And like I said, Bowblax, still to this day, he could be a little too edgy for his own good. But Bowblax is not racist. But here we have two tweets where Ethan Klein was trying to position him as a racist, which is obviously fucking stupid. For someone who had a history of being anti-cancel culture, it seems like Ethan Klein is very much in favor of cancel culture nowadays. Let's not just cancel Keemstar because I don't fucking like him. Let's cancel anyone who calls me out or anyone who has a defense of him. Right? That's who Ethan is today. And I have to say, as a longtime fan of the H3H3, I am very, very disappointed to see what H3H3 has become. It's very disappointing. I even introduced my mom to H3H3 Productions. My mom's a boomer. She doesn't watch YouTube. She doesn't listen to YouTube. But one day when I was at her house, I put on, H3H3 several years ago, and my mom died of laughter. She thought H3 was hilarious. You want to know what happened recently? This is how bad Ethan has gotten recently. Like I said, my mom doesn't do YouTube, but I introduced her to H3 and she loves H3, right? I go to her house within the past month or so. She's having a barbecue or something like that, right? And, I brought some things and I brought some beer and I'm walking into the house, with the beer and the other things that I brought for the barbecue. And she stops me. She says, "Hey, H3H3, Ethan's kind of a dick now, right?" And I was just kind of shocked that my mom knew about everything that was going on. And I'm like, "How do you know that, Mom?" And she's like, "Yeah, he's kind of a douchebag now." And I'm like, "Yeah, there's a lot going on in the community right now. And yeah, he's definitely not the same person that he used to be." My fucking mom, who is in her late 50s, thinks that H3H3 is a douchebag. And you want to know why? Because he fucking is. How are you going to go out of your way to position someone as a racist when he's clearly not? Bowblax is not racist. Yes, he's an edgy motherfucker. And I've told him in private conversations, "Bro, you really shouldn't be saying this stuff because it's going to hurt you in the long run." Very recently, he tweeted something where I'm like, probably shouldn't have done that, bro. That's going to be used against you one day. And look at what we have happening. Yes, his old edgy behavior is being used against him by Ethan from H3H3 of all fucking things. And that's a really rich coming from him, right? Because it's not like Ethan hasn't said really messed up things in the past. I can't show those things because we're on Twitch, but we've all seen the clip of when iDubbbz was on his show and he kept saying N-word F-slur because he thought it was funny. Granted, you know, in the context, would I say that H3H3 is a racist based on the context of how he used those words? No. But he was a little too comfortable using those words. And we also have a podcast clip of him talking about how he was intimidated by large black men. And even Gila had to kind of push against him and say, you know, I don't see how them being black is relevant to them being intimidated. Them being large, yes. But why does them being black have anything to do with it? Like, Ethan has said fucked up stuff on his show. So for him to go around digging up people's past and acting like he's a fucking saint, that's really fucking rich. Didn't I see somebody in the chat asking, didn't he do blackface? I do actually have to defend Ethan in that one. He wasn't doing blackface. He did a video, I believe it was called the Black Challenge, and what they were doing is they were using a lot of black hygiene products. So like the black toothpaste, black facial scrub, stuff like that. It was not blackface. Although he did make a blackface related joke on Twitter once, something along the lines of when she says she only dates black people, and he had some dirt or mud from the Red Sea rubbed on his face in the picture. So he has done a sort of blackface style joke. But yeah, a lot of people are using the Black Challenge video against him, and that wasn't a blackface video. So I do have to defend him on that one. See, I could be fair. But this was really fucked up to try and position Bowblax as a racist for jokes that he made when he was a fucking teenager. And again, I do understand that Bowblax still makes really edgy jokes he shouldn't be making. But he was a fucking teenager when he made these jokes. Like I said before, I myself can openly admit when I was a teenager, I said some fucked up shit. And if people knew the shit that I said when I was a teenager, I'd probably get canceled too. But we have to understand that people grow and mature with age. The shit that I said as a teenager, I would never say that shit now. And not because it would get me canceled. I wouldn't say that shit now because I don't think it's appropriate now. I've grown with age, I've matured, and I've become a better person. That's why I would never say that stuff. You could ask some of, the content creators that I mingle with in the community, and they will tell you, even in private conversations, I don't say that kind of shit. Now, that's not a diss at anybody who does make those kind of jokes in private conversations. You guys are welcome to have whatever kind of conversations you want in private. But anybody can vouch for me that I don't say that shit now. But I will openly admit, when I was a teenager, yeah, I said stupid shit like that. And it wasn't okay then. And it's certainly not okay now. But to hold that against someone now, absolutely unbelievable. The Ethan of back in the day, the Ethan everybody loved, that Ethan wouldn't do this shit. Apparently, Ethan was having a DM conversation with Bowblax at the time all this was going on. Bowblax tweeted this out and said, I literally read your tweets out of word for word in my videos with no extra commentary. And I guess Ethan told him in DMs, you don't give a shit, you just want to build a narrative that gets views. Bowblax literally just reads tweets in his videos. Very rarely in his videos does he chime in with his opinion. What is this bullshit about trying to fit a narrative? The motherfucker reads tweets verbatim. What are you on about, Ethan? Now, in fairness to Ethan, he did eventually delete those tweets. Sorry, Josh, I shouldn't have said that. Apologies. I was out of line and I erased my tweets. So fair enough. Ethan eventually did the right thing. Never mind the fact that those tweets were almost up for 4 hours before he deleted them. But now he wants to apologize. After 4 hours of letting his massive following of how many people does 2.4 million people. These tweets were exposed to 2.4 million people before Ethan apologized and admitted he was wrong. Now, Bowblax did accept his apology. Thank you, Ethan. Okay, that's good. Bowblax also went to say this on Twitter. I don't know if Ethan was drunk last night, but even if he was, it's clear that he has a lot of hate in his heart for not only Keem, but YouTubers who call Ethan out. Last night, that hatred spilled onto me in public tweets and private DMs. He needs to learn to let it go. And I agree. That's the funniest thing. Is like, I get it. He doesn't like Keemstar, and he apparently doesn't like criticism either. I get it. You know, I can openly admit that I don't always like the criticism that I get. You know, people are free to criticize me all they want, and I would never try to silence them or deplatform them because they had a criticism with me that of me that I disagreed with. But I'll be honest, sometimes somebody criticizes me for something, and I'm like, that's bullshit. I don't like that. But I'm not going to try to silence them or deplatform them or smear their reputation. Unlike Ethan here. And he does. He needs to let this go. Keemstar has literally moved on. And this whole time, Ethan just keeps pushing it, keeps posting old clips about Keemstar in an attempt to cancel him, keeps saying like, oh, you know, Keemstar's not responsible enough to report this kind of news, blah, blah, blah. All these attempts to cancel Keemstar. Meanwhile, Keemstar's just kind of off doing his own thing. And yes, every once in a while, Keemstar will make some meme about him at his expense or whatever. But still, like, what the heck, dude? It's gone too far. The fact that it took public backlash for him to retract and apologize despite me explaining myself in DMs is concerning. And it's true. H3H3 was getting ratioed to hell and back for these statements that he made about Bowblax. The community came out strong in support of Bowblax, and they should have. Because what H3H3 tried to do was full-on character assassination of Bowblax. And it's fucked up. We even have Keemstar coming out in support of Bowblax. Bowblax, don't let bigger YouTubers manipulate you. I've seen a few of these videos, and you're not doing anything wrong. You're reading exactly what's happening. To which Bowblax responded, well, if he's trying to manipulate me into not liking him, he's doing a great job at it. Lol. At least Bowblax, you know, has been mostly, you know, positive and just trying to laugh off the whole situation. But this is a situation that could have turned out really bad. We've seen in the past month several people canceled for old tweets, for old jokes, for old videos. In some cases, rightfully so, right? But this is a situation where it was clearly Bowblax being an edgy teenager saying shit that he has already admitted he should not have said. He's already admitted it. And he's already publicly apologized for these things. And Ethan, being the type of person who doesn't do his due diligence, we've seen his videos against Keemstar and all the lack of context in them. He didn't do his due diligence actually looking into this, actually looking into the fact that Bowblax has already addressed this. Bowblax has already apologized for this. Bowblax has already admitted that what he said when he was a teenager in that video was wrong. But Ethan ignored all that because it didn't fit his narrative, right? Like I said, I've known Bowblax for probably going on 2 years now. And he's one of the kindest, most genuine people I know in the community. And I feel very privileged to call him a friend. He's been there for me a lot of times when I needed someone to talk to. And I've been there for him as well. And I love the guy. I have a brotherly love for Bowblax. And I will always go to bat for that dude. That's not to say that I will excuse the things that he's done. You know, some of the shit that he says, I've called him out on it both publicly and privately. Hey, Bowblax, you shouldn't do that shit. Because I'm a firm believer that, as a friend, you should tell your friend when they're fucking up. And I've done that. But that doesn't mean I don't care about the guy and I don't support him. I'm ride or die for Bowblax. I will always be there for him. And I know that he'll be there for me too. And seeing this happen today, I will openly admit it fucking infuriated me. Because I know, based on my personal experiences with Bowblax, that he's not a racist. He's not a horrible person. He is a genuinely kind dude. Genuinely kind. And he would never do something to intentionally hurt anybody. So it pissed me off when H3 tried to portray him as this monster. This racist monster. that he's not. I will say one thing, though. Watching the situation unfold on Twitter, it kind of gave me a little more perspective on the kind of content I create and the kind of message that I put out there with the kind of content I create. And that's not to necessarily say I think there's anything wrong with the content I create in terms of like, delivering the news as to what's going on in the community. But I do think it's important to be very mindful of the message I put out there. It's not so much bad to have the discussions that we have in my videos and on my streams, but it's important to make it clear that, we don't need to go around canceling people, right? We don't need to go around nitpicking at everything someone has done and try to use that as a tool, weaponize that as a tool to feed mob mentality, to try and destroy someone's reputation and their career. It's one thing to provide criticism for someone's actions, and it's quite another to fuel mob mentality. And that's something that after watching this whole thing unfold, I do have to really be mindful of that when we do certain coverage on different topics in the future. But one thing I do want to wrap this up with is, Ethan, shame on you. You are very much a shadow of your former self. A lot of content creators, myself included, have looked up to you over the years. And it really is a shame to see what you've become over the years. Because you basically became the thing that you used to ridicule in the past. A lot of these social justice warriors who believe in canceling people over jokes and memes and mistakes that they've made in the past. You've lost your way, Ethan.
Baby, I'm saying legends never die. We're always out of minds. We never find the time, no.